We're really excited to share insights from the F1 mixed reality activation we did at Las Vegas Grand Prix last year. It was an honor to work with our small but mighty team, and we're going to share how XR storytelling has the potential to really engage and excite your retail audiences. So we'll start with some introductions with Ian Dawson from Augmentive Studio.
Hi, my name is Ian Dawson. I have a company called Augmentive Studio. We were the main design and development partner for T-Mobile. My background, just to give you a quick intro, is 35 years of visual effects work for film and television. I am kind of known for, in that world, the guy that produced and visual effects supervised all the Iron Man UI Jarvis sequences. And then I've been doing it for real now, instead of for movies, for fantasy.
Thanks, Ian. And then Philippe Lewicki with AfterNow.
Hi. Yes, so I've been building experience and location-based entertainment for the past 10 years. Started with the HoloLens, did something for VRLA in 2017 called the Easter Egg Hunt. That was really fun, and it was one kind of the first where people were wearing HoloLens headset and walking around spaces and experiencing AR. And since continuing that with for the past 10 years, so it's a lot of fun.
And last but certainly not least, we have Athena Demos from Big Rock Creative.
Hi, everyone. I am Athena Demos, and Big Rock Creative came into existence in 2020 as a response to COVID. We actually built Burning Man in VR to bring the community together, and then built a lot of other experiences. And once everything started opening up, we started taking those experiences to physical places and created a format for how to do temporary activations in retail spaces, in conferences, at festivals all over the world. And so we've worked with T-Mobile on a few projects, including this one, when I loved partnering with you guys on it.
Thank you. So I thought we could start off just so everyone, gets a clear picture of everything we're talking about today with a short video of what the experience looked like from within the headset. So as a sponsor of the Las Vegas Grand Prix, T-Mobile Retail really wanted to bring innovative storytelling to our customers and fans throughout the race week. And not many people know, but we have a second floor on our signature store on the Strip. And we knew that we wanted something really amazing up there to bring fans upstairs where they forget we have a floor. So we wanted them to be able to look under the hood and learn about the inner workings of an F1 vehicle in a really engaging way, while also educating them on how T-Mobile 5G actually makes this all possible throughout the race week. So as you saw in the video, we paired a full-sized F1 car that had to be magenta, of course, with the mixed reality experience to illustrate the complex data transition in F1 racing, from sensors to the ECU, command center, pit wall, and back to the driver. We used the MetaQuest 3 pass-through, and fans could simultaneously visualize that journey of telemetry data, highlighting that critical role that data transmission plays throughout the whole week at Las Vegas Grand Prix. Our retail team also wanted to create an experience for fans who were unable to join the fun in Vegas. So Ian and Philippe also created a standalone version with the F1 car actually in augmented reality, but stay tuned for what is next with that. So when we were thinking about developers for these goals and who could achieve this experience, we of course thought of Ian Dawson, the man behind, as he said, the Jarvis interface in Iron Man. So, Ian, will you talk a bit about your previous experience in XR with Iron Man and McLaren and how that influenced development of this activation?
Sure. For Iron Man, you're doing stuff for a film, and it's all fantasy, and you're really only thinking about, I got to get these 500 shots out for this film, and you're not really thinking about how that's going to influence the future of what has now become XR. But I'm sure many of you have taken some images from that, put it in decks to show people what possibly it could look like in the future. But at the time, we had no idea that that was going to have so much impact on this community. We have created pieces for McLaren. We created an entire ecosystem and world for McLaren. We first started with some NFTs. When NFTs were hot, we created, I think it was 2,000 different versions of McLaren as an NFT. And then we built kind of a little metaverse for McLaren where people could go in and get swag and look around and do that kind of stuff. So these were sort of like, retail POCs, if you want to call them that at that time. Did some work also with Hershey's and some other clients as well. So,
could you tell us a little about your creative process for this specific activation and how you were able to produce such quality assets in just 8 weeks?
Yeah, short time frame, 8 weeks. So, the biggest challenge was how do we show, there's 300 sensors on these cars. We can't show how all 300 sensors are displaying information. So the big thing was how do we display this information in a way people can see it? And we needed to do that quickly. So we said, hey, let's play around with some AI, and we started doing, what do the pit crew see when they're looking at these images, because it's pretty proprietary, right? Each of the different, McLaren and Mercedes and all, they have their own proprietary ways of displaying information in the pit. So that was very hard to get. So we decided, hey, let's let AI give us some ideas on this. And these were just some very early ideas of how we might be able to display all this data. And then we did, this is a different designer's basically view of using AI still, of how that might be displayed. But we realized this is pretty complicated, and we were going to have people walking around the car, and so we needed to find a way to simplify these frames and the data. So we started doing, these types of designs, narrowing down, the data and really narrowing it down to how many points of interest do we need to have for each of the different areas that we're going to do. So like this one's G-force and suspension, tire sensors, engine sensors. So we really needed to kind of pare down the information and make it usable, readable, easy for people to digest. This was the fuel sensor. And we started putting them into context, with a car. And we realized, so as you can see here, it's transparent screens, but we realized, wow, people are going to be walking through these screens behind them, in front of them, so we probably need to make them, more opaque. So that's what we ended up doing in the piece. This is for Philippe to talk about.
Oh, yes. So, Philippe, can you talk to us about the specific tools you used for the design and development process, please?
Oh, yeah, sure. So what I love in terms of designing experiences, location-based experiences in, I would say, augmented reality, which was currently what we had, is that you get people in a headset and you make sure that they don't have any controller, they use their hands, and they can just walk around and interact with what they see or they're attracted to see to do. So that was the basis of the design of the flow that you can see in the experience. In terms of the specific of this one, we did something different. So we did all the 3D assets in VR. So instead of using the classic pipeline, we decided to work with Gravity Sketch, and we redesigned all the 3D models in Gravity Sketch using a reference of pictures or reference of elements that we wanted. So that was a pure VR experience of creating VR content. So here you have that's the engine that we were designing from scratch based on the Honda model. So we stylized it and we simplify it for the VR, the mixed reality experience, because we need something really low poly. So you can see here how we were working with the textures and applying the different textures. And on the next one, you can see the evolution of where it started as a really basic, low level, and when we're truly working through it in VR to get it to a proper, clean version of it. In terms of the other things that we're working on and challenges is the things we're working on for this tool. Then after that, we import them in the Blender, and then we move them to, because there's no export in GLTF, and our favorite format is the open source GLTF. So there was no export for that, so we used Blender, and then we were able to work with it in Unity, where GLTF in Unity is pretty well supported, very flexible, and allows us to really allow a pipeline where it was really easy to replace and take back things back in there, which came handy when we had a challenge on site later on. Oh, so that's the challenge later on.
I was going to ask what challenges you did run into throughout the process and what you did to overcome those.
So the first challenge we had is, with the pass-through on the MetaQuest, shaders don't work really well. There's a lot of problem with shaders. So that was a big challenge for us to get those effects of lights and electricity and movement of data moving around to get them to work in a transparent and see-through environment, because it's not see-through, it's actually a video feed. So that mix of all those elements was pretty challenging. We overcome it, but that was a surprise. The other part is that we designed everything on a suspicion of a 3D model of the car, which was the Red Bull car. And we had the 3D model of it, so we based everything on that. We did all the measurements of all the, because the signal that goes on the car is really touching the car. But when we arrived on site, the car was slightly different, but different enough that everything was broken. All the cables were going under, you couldn't see half of the elements, everything was moved, the antenna was not at the right place. So
we didn't have access to the car that was actually being built for the display, so we didn't have the ability to scan the car before we had it. So all we had was that 3D model that was supplied to us.
Correct. So when we arrived on the real car 3 days before the event, it was all messed up. So thanks to our simple pipeline we had for the 3D from Gravity Sketch, I was able to go back in Gravity. Well, we're able together to work on the scan. So using Scaniverse, anyone from Niantic? No, I'm plugging something here. We use Scaniverse to scan the car and then load it into Gravity Sketch and realign every 3D models that was not aligned, and then re-export them and re-import in the app, republish the app, and redeploy it in all the headsets.
We did that in 24 hours.
That was one of our biggest challenges before the show.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember that was a late night.
And here's us happy that it's working.
Okay, well, creating the immersive experience is only half the battle when it comes to fan activations. So we also brought in Athena from Big Rock Creative to help us showcase it to the public. Athena, can you share some of the history of activations that you have done with us at T-Mobile?
For sure. Our first activation was massive. We were at Mobile World Congress. We created the content, which was also Formula One as well as brought in brand ambassadors that were part of our team that had an intimate understanding of virtual reality, that could troubleshoot the headsets, make sure the content was working, but then also physically putting the headsets on every single person as they came in, making sure that they had the best possible experience with the content that we created, and then, and what I consider most importantly, clean every single headset between every single person, put it in a clean box, wipe it down, making sure the oils and the makeups aren't there, putting it in the clean box, making sure that it has been sanitized for the next person that was coming in. I mean, we are narrowly out of the pandemic, which is kind of still going on, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that you could possibly get. So it was really important to take the health and welfare of everybody that comes through the experiences. So Mobile World, channel partners, CES, National Retail Federation, is that what it's called? NRF? Mm-hmm. Yeah, NRF. So because we have like this system, it became, we became experts. And we've done lots of other projects for other companies at places like South by Southwest, and here at AWE, we've had a booth here for the past 3 or 4 years. So we've formulated this flow for bringing participants into the experiences, and it all has to be fun. And so our team has a ton of fun, and that makes it fun for everybody else. We're really good with working with kids, as you can see in this photograph. Parents love dropping off their children and telling them to get into the headsets. I think that's Courtney.
Yeah.
That's Courtney. And you're wearing the same jacket.
Yeah. It's the T-Mobile jacket.
That's okay. I just got my T-Mobile jacket, so I'll be wearing this one a lot.
Yeah.
And so we made it as fun as possible. Our team got on site, and we were just basically in this holding pattern while we found out that you guys had to completely rebuild the entire experience. Not the entire experience, but just get it, remap it.
You just had to realign it.
You had to realign it, remap it. So we were in this holding pattern. There's the clean box. We love working with them. So we were really able to jump in the minute you guys got it done, work out the flow for the participants, and then keep it going for an entire week. We were there for 7 days, all of Formula One, and just keeping the flow of people going through the experience.
Athena's team being fun. I was working with them for transferring the scanning, because it's a challenge to get the app synchronized and aligned to the car. So I had to transfer to that, and everybody was really, really easy to work with, really fun, and really like engaging and surprisingly smart to be running that demo. And I can't tell how hard it is to run demos like this. And getting people high throughput is highly difficult. So yeah, detail on this.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
This is a video of a couple of people's comments about being in the headset.
What did you think?
So today I experienced VR, and it was like such a great experience. I just realized how like the potential of VR for practical industrial experiences. I always thought it could just be used for entertainment, but there's actually so much potential in it. And this was a great experience. Thank you.
Okay, what do you think of our AR experience?
Honestly, this is amazing. Everyone should come by T-Mobile. You could come, you get a free poster, you can race all your friends, check out this car all with VR. And you get free glasses too.
And you get free glasses.
Very cool. You're kind of crazy.
T-Mobile stepped it up here.
They stepped it up.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Well, hearing that loud video reminded me, Athena, do you want to talk about some of the challenges that your team was facing in the day-to-day, like putting this on for fans?
The sound is always a challenge. Everybody wants, or either you're on a noisy conference room floor. Mobile World Congress was crazy loud, and you can't scream at people while they're in the headset to try to direct them to places. So you have to find the right volume level to talk people through the VR experience. So dealing with noise is a problem. But the other thing that was an interesting challenge that we had to work through is that sometimes it got really crowded upstairs at the T-Mobile Signature Store. And if somebody walked through the tracking that one of the headsets was attached to the car and then somebody walked through it, it might knock the tracking off. And so then we were resetting the headset. So we had headsets that we knew worked and headsets that had to get reset. And half the team was resetting the headsets while the other half of the team was making sure people were going through it. So, and you have to do it with a smile on your face. You can't get flustered. You can't be like, oh my God, this headset's not working anymore. You're like, nope, we'll just take this one or get this one working. And so kudos to T-Mobile for having enough headsets that we could always filter them through. And then battery life is also a challenge, and keeping track of, because you're putting it from one person to another. And every once in a while you got to look inside and be like, oh, I only have 5% battery left. Because you don't want the experience to turn off while it's on somebody's head. So it's maintaining all of these things while making sure everyone is having a good time. And so our two biggest challenges were making sure that the content was mapped onto the car at all times, even with all these people walking around. Keeping people from bumping into anybody else, because that's also a thing. And then the sound, how loud it is in a room.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to try it out, and the team, like you said, is so fun and also so knowledgeable and really helps you walk it through. I'm not the hugest car fan. I don't know that much about it, but after that, I was very inspired.
I will say that there was only one person on the team that actually had any experience with Formula One. The others all had to learn everything, and so we got a set of talking points from T-Mobile, and the team was really good about learning them, but then they all went and did their own research and gathered more information. Like, our team is hungry to learn and share information, and they love doing it. So they did their own research, and they came back to T-Mobile and said, can we say this, and can we say this, and I learned this, and they came up with like a dozen or so other talking points, and now they're all Formula One experts and watching the race, and it was kind of fun.
I love that, and that's exactly what the type of activation like this, that's what we want for the outcome for everyone. So do you have any funny stories from the week from any of your staff that they heard to
Funny stories. Well, my most fun story, amazingly, actually didn't happen in the store, because you guys gave them the best outfits ever. They were the jumpsuits that the pit crew would wear, but they were like T-Mobile pit crew. And my team loved those jumpsuits. And so they decided to wear them out on Fremont Street. And people kept stopping them, and so they started telling people, like, go to the T-Mobile store, we're gonna be there tomorrow. So they were like drumming up for people to come, but they were just having a great time just wearing the outfits and wearing the branded outfits. So
Perfect brand ambassadors on the...
Perfect brand ambassadors. So they loved wearing the outfits and encouraging people to come to the store, and some people did, and so that was a lot of fun. But then they also had a good time. People would bring their children up to the signature store, and they would be like, oh, I don't need to put in it, but put my kid in it, like my kid games, but I'm not going to do it. And to watch the children have such a good time going through it and then convincing their parents to do it. Like that was prime. And then there were other exhibits that were also up there. There was a driving thing where you could pretend like you were driving a car. So there's a lot going on at the signature store during Formula One that just drew people in and kept people engaged. But I loved like the kids being like, oh, Dad, you have to try this. And they were like, no, it's okay. And then they finally do. I like that.
I love that. I also did go home with one of the jumpsuits as well. So
I did not
couldn't
go
help
home
myself.
with one of the jumpsuits.
Okay, so the results of, having that live for about a week, we ended up having over 1,000 fans come try the activation. And I know Athena had shared with me previously, a lot of people, were taking that headset off and sharing it with friends and family. So I'm sure there was many more than that. That was just kind of hard to track. And we had over 200 people come back specifically to try the same experience again, or bringing friends saying, I had to bring them back. It was so great. And we had a 62% increase in foot traffic to that second floor overall, which is really what we were looking for and fully exceeded our retail team's expectations. And then the cherry on top, slide, is that the activation ended up being awarded 2 silver tellies, one in use of AR and the other in sports and entertainment, and 2 gold tellies, one in use of interactivity and one in live events and experiences. So congratulations to the whole team who worked so hard on this amazing accomplishment. We also had Louisa Spring McDonald behind it, and Chelsea Meisner, and just a whole slew of people. So I guess before we wrap it up, we'll open up for any questions that people may have.
I have a question for you and maybe a little plug for T-Mobile. A question about the support from senior corporate leadership. T-Mobile being having a lot of technology, being a technology-driven company, do you feel like you're getting the right support? I switched to T-Mobile from another carrier because of the Starlink Direct, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. And then I just started getting other technology benefits, flying an Alaska flight and free internet. So can you talk a little bit about the support from corporate?
Yeah, of course. So actually, we've had a big push this year from, being a telco company to being a tech co company. So I think we've kind of been laying the groundwork for that now for the last at least 5 years since I've been a part of a small XR team at T-Mobile. They really started building that ecosystem and getting ready to move away from just your average old phone to being really like tech forward and having those kind of innovative activations and experiences at every event that we have. So I think it's really only going to go up from here and be really great. Maybe we're the next Apple, who knows?
Love that. Okay, any other question?
Hi, I have a question for Ian. I wanted to know how you pivoted from working in movies like for Jarvis for Iron Man. Like, I remember seeing that movie when I was like 6 and being like, oh my God, that's cool, I want to do that. So how did you pivot from that to working in like VR for this kind of stuff?
Well, I still do visual effects work. So it kind of broadened the diversity of work that I did. I was the company that I was working at that I was doing that work. I tried to convince them to maybe parlay that into XR work. They at the time were not interested, so I decided, you know what? I see that there's a market here, and I'm going to go pursue it. And I actually went to VRLA, and that's where I met this guy. And so we've been sort of partnered up at times on projects over the years. I kind of, my side is doing more of the design development, and Philippe does more of the, actual development. But we sort of bounce ideas off of each other, and so I think the, it was an easy transition at that time. There weren't really headsets going on so much at that time, so everything was phone-based. There was the HoloLens one, which I think you're right, wasn't VRLA your thing was HoloLens one. Yeah. So that was great to see, but the headsets were few and far between. So it's been a progression up and down, as many of you have probably experienced yourself.
I have a question for Ian.
Okay, sure.
Having worked on Jarvis and then doing this, which is basically like a next step too, how far are we from Jarvis?
I've actually seen what would be the equivalent of Jarvis up at Microsoft. Actually, they invited me up to go see the HoloLens with Copilot. So they had a four-wheel ATV there, and put on the HoloLens, and they just started saying, like, point to things and start asking questions. So I did. I was like, what's this? And they'd say, and it would, Copilot would say, oh, that's the carburetor. And I'd say, what's the part number of the carburetor? And it would give me the part number. And I'd say, how do you replace the carburetor? And it would literally show me directions overlaid through the HoloLens how to repair the carburetor. So it exists. I've seen it with my own eyes. And I do think that, as Ori said today, the combination of AI and XR is really, the future. And I think they both complement each other really well. So it's here.
It's here. The future's now.
It's mainstream.
Yeah, that's right. XR is mainstream.
Yeah.
Let's go mainstream, indeed.
We need a headset, though, still. We still need a good headset.
Do we have any other question? Okay.
Hello. Cool. First time on a mic. First of all, great work on this project. Looks really good, and congratulations on the awards. I also won a telly this year, so it's great to see how
Congratulations.
augmented reality.
Congratulations.
Third place, but rightfully so. You guys blew it out of the water. But yeah, I'm excited to see how augmented reality is becoming more present in like retail experiences and all that. So how would you see like the future of augmented reality in retail spaces? I know you said you had a whole second floor dedicated to this, but how can we see like the future of retail spaces that might not have as much space, but are still looking to create those customer experiences?
I guess I'll take that. So future of augmented reality in retail, we of course want to continue to do similar work and bring new and improved and innovative experiences to not only that second store, but we always have like Club Magenta at music festivals or other sports events and things like that. As for retail spaces with small areas, we actually have our Metro phone line that struggles with really small spaces. They tend to also be like within malls where they struggle with having good service and things like that. And they actually already have some like online, that's more in virtual reality though, ways for people to go on and look at the products and touch and feel and buy something. But augmented reality, I think that's maybe a little more ways out for small spaces, right? Because like Athena had mentioned, that was one of the big struggles of being on that second floor, was we would have loved to have, a ton of people doing it at once, but really that was, the floor plan was the issue. So I think augmented reality struggles a lot more with space confinement than virtual reality, of course. But again, as we improve things, I think mixed reality will be the way to go so that you can kind of control that level of pass-through and things like that.
Hi. So thank you for this. I'm a big Formula One fan. You name a driver, I know basically everything about them. So right now, the Formula One fan base has a big problem because it's split into two. We have the fan base that is basically a casual fan base who just watches Formula One and they enjoy it. They probably go to the movie and say this is the best movie ever. And then we have the seasoned Formula One fans that basically know everything about the sport. And when they see the movie, they say, well, this is unrealistic. But do you think that this experience would bring those fans that are more casuals into being more seasoned or more, that they would have more knowledge about the sport?
I would say yes, because my team were casual Formula One. One of them had never even had any interaction with Formula One, and now all of them are way into Formula One and think it's cool because they have a deeper understanding of how the cars work. They're not just these loud screaming things that go down the street. There's a major Grand Prix that happens right here in Long Beach. It just happened 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, something like that. It wasn't that long ago. And some people, they just like, oh, there's just loud, noisy cars. But when you start getting into the technology behind the cars and the science that's put into the cars and the drivers and all the exercise and the workouts and the nutrition that they have to follow in order to actually have the stamina to drive these cars, it's fascinating, and nobody realizes that all that goes into it. So sometimes it can be a heavy lift to go to a race. But to experience it like this just gives you enough of a taste that it piques your curiosity and makes you want to learn more. So yes.
I have a good. So when I was designing the experiences, I had to watch a lot of YouTube videos to understand how things were working. And I'm gonna give you one example of all the things I had to learn. The fuel tank. So the fuel tank, you think, oh yeah, well, it's a fuel tank. It's like a big thing, and you put fuel in it. It's super complex. It's extremely detailed, and the way they work the different component and the material, it's sponges, and then there's little walls and different doors that opens at different levels and different moments, and it cannot be refueled, so it has to be for the entire race. All those little details. When I was trying to get and make that thing interesting, so people can get can get a peek of how complex this little thing is, and get an understanding of like, no, it's not just a box. It's it's something a bit more advanced. So I think it's an amazing sport, and you have to be able to have an experience like this to be able to peek inside, even if it was very generalized, and we make it very simple, and a lot of the things that we had to put there were not accurate exactly, but it was in purpose to make people curiosity piqued into getting understanding of more of it. So yes, it was. It's fascinating how that works, and you have to really help people get into. Oh, this is way more complex than you think, and there's way more science, and there's hundreds of people working on that little detail to make it work, and that makes it extremely appealing.
I just want to add real quick that on the data, I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that the data that we were showing, the dials, the information, was as close to realistic as possible. I would get stuff back from my designer and say, no, it's got to be from 0 to 1500 or whatever it was, because I knew that there would be people potentially that knew about racing, and then a lot of people that didn't, but I wanted the people that did know about racing to not think like, oh, we just didn't care about that. So.
And I'll just actually touch on that real quick too. So when I was there, it was fun to watch people go through and experience it, and I was really paying attention to what really made them ooh and ah. And part of it was Athena's team's talk track, which I still remember that the F1 cars have over 300 sensors and 1 million telemetry data points going like back and forth from the car to the pit every second. And I feel like, even learning that, I think a lot of people left that activation with a lot more respect for the sport in general.